the permission you've been waiting for, why cutting off doesn't require hate. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft and loving every second of it. Today, I had the profound honor of sitting down with LaKisha Plowden, a woman whose journey through unimaginable loss and trauma has become a masterclass in boundaries, emotional safety, and the radical act of moving forward without hate. LaKisha Jirkami is rewriting the narrative for Black women everywhere, showing us that cutting ties doesn't require bitterness, that softness is a strategy, and that protecting your peace is not cruelty, it's survival. Her insights are reshaping how we think about healing, motherhood, and the courage it takes to choose yourself when the world has taught you to carry everyone else. LaKisha is not just surviving, she's teaching us how to thrive by refusing to let the people who harmed us own our emotional future. She's making the world a better place by giving Black women permission to protect themselves without apology. Let me be clear about something right now. Cutting people off is not mean, walking away is not weakness, and choosing not to hate the people who hurt you is not the same thing as letting them back in. LaKisha taught me something I want you to hear loud and clear. You can end a relationship, a business partnership, a friendship, a family connection without carrying hate in your heart. But here's the part we keep getting wrong: not hating someone does not mean you owe them access. Not hating someone does not mean you have to keep explaining yourself. Not hating someone does not mean you stay in proximity to danger just to prove you're healed. You can wish them well from a distance. You can pray for their peace while blocking their number. You can release the bitterness and still refuse to let them near your child, your home, your energy, or your future. This is what LaKisha calls non hate detachment, and it is one of the most powerful strategies a Black woman can learn in her soft girl era. Let's talk about what it actually looks like to cut off and move on without hate, because we have been lied to about this for too long. We've been told that if we're really healed, we'll forgive and forget. We've been told that holding a boundary makes us bitter. We've been told that if we can't sit at the same table with someone who harmed us, we're the problem. That is a lie designed to keep you accessible to people who are dangerous. LaKisha's message is this: softness is a strategy, even when you've been hurt. Choosing not to hate is not weakness, it is a deliberate decision to protect your mental health and your child, your legacy, and your capacity to build wealth, lead, and create. It is a refusal to let the people who harmed you own your emotional future. And boundaries? Boundaries are an act of self respect, not cruelty. Cutting people off, changing environments, refusing access. This is not being mean. This is a demand for safety and respect for yourself and for those you protect. Let me share three stories with you that illustrate exactly what LaKisha is teaching us. First, Simone Biles. In 2021, the world watched as one of the greatest gymnasts in history stepped back from Olympic competition to protect her mental health. She was facing the twisties, a dangerous condition where your mind and body lose alignment midair. She was also carrying the weight of surviving institutional abuse within USA Gymnastics, the Larry Nassar scandal, public expectations, and the myth that Black women must be endlessly strong, accommodating, and self sacrificing. Simone did not respond with public hate toward the sport or the organizations tied to her trauma. She redirected her energy toward healing and advocacy. She cut off participation in events that threatened her safety. She spoke openly about needing to step back demanding that her health be treated as non negotiable. She shifted her focus to therapy, healing, and public advocacy for mental health and athlete safety rather than public hatred or vengeance. What happened? Simone became a global example that walking away from harmful expectations does not require hatred, only a firm boundary and self respect. She re entered competition later on her own terms, proving that cutting off is not the end of your story. It can be the beginning of a healthier era. Her stance has pushed sports institutions to take mental health and athlete safety more seriously, especially for Black women who've been expected to absorb endless harm without complaint. Simone set a precedent. You can cut off harmful demands, institutions, and narratives without hating them, but you absolutely must stop letting them control you. Her choice reinforces to Black professionals and entrepreneurs that you do not owe your body or sanity to any job, company, or community that harms you. She showed us that you can honor what a space gave you while still recognizing when it's time to leave. That's wisdom. That's power. That's non hate detachment. Second, yeah, Serena Williams. After decades of dominating tennis while absorbing public racism, harsh criticism of her body and emotions, policing of her behavior on and off the court, and life threatening childbirth complications that nearly killed her, Serena chose to evolve away from tennis to prioritize her daughter, potential future children, and her own well being. She did not move on with hate toward the sport, even after years of being both hero and target within institutions that often celebrated and harmed her simultaneously. She made a demanding but graceful decision to end her professional tennis era. She named it evolution, not collapse. She cut off the constant grind of the tour and redirected her energy into family, investments, and business ventures through Serena Ventures, refusing to let resentment be the anchor. She spoke openly about the difficulty of leaving, yet framed it as an empowered choice rather than an act of hate or escape. Serena stepped into a new chapter as an investor and entrepreneur, focusing heavily on supporting founders, particularly women and people of color, through capital and mentorship. Her venture capital firm has invested in over 60 companies, many led by women and founders of color. Her transition modeled for Black professionals that you can move on from a space that has both celebrated and harmed you without dedicating your life to hating it. She reshaped the narrative of retirement into one of strategy, legacy, and boundary setting. From Compton to global stages, Serena spent decades performing under intense scrutiny, becoming an icon while absorbing racism and criticism that targeted her Blackness, femininity, and strength. After childbirth complications that nearly killed her, the cost of continuing the same grind became too high. She chose to prioritize her life and her family rather than endless proving. Serena's evolution demonstrates that moving on is a strategic reallocation of your energy, not a declaration of hate. For Black professionals, her story underscores that you must demand a life that honors your health, family, and future, even if it means walking away from a prestigious, profitable, or historic role. She didn't burn the bridge, she just stopped walking across it. Third, Tarana Burke, the founder of the Me Too movement, built a global framework to support survivors of sexual violence, especially Black women and girls. Her approach centers healing, empathy, and community, not hate or revenge against every individual aggressor. Tarana cut off the culture of silence and shame, not the humanity of survivors themselves. She built a movement that prioritized the survivor centered healing, community support, and concrete resources rather than only public rage. She emphasized boundaries, consent, and accountability as tools to move forward, insisting that survivors deserve lives beyond anger. Tarana started Me Too long before it became a hashtag, working directly with Black girls in community organizations. She witnessed how trauma stole their futures and how shame kept them silent. Rather than directing them toward permanent hatred of their abusers, she focused on giving them tools to reclaim their stories, bodies, and lives. The Me Too movement became a global catalyst for conversations about consent, abuse, workplace culture, and power. Many survivors, particularly Black women and girls, have found language, community, and support to begin healing, often choosing to move forward without carrying lifelong hatred, even while seeking justice. The movement has influenced policy, organizational practices, and public awareness around harassment and assault. It's been recognized by Time Magazine's Silence Breakers Person of the Year feature, and Tarana has authored books and led organizations that center trauma informed care and survivor leadership. Tarana's work teaches that you can cut off the patterns, the silence, and the access, but you don't have to live the rest of your life anchored in hate. For Black leaders, her approach shows how to build movements, businesses, or families around healing and boundaries rather than around perpetual rage. She teaches us that justice and healing can coexist, that you can demand accountability without drowning in bitterness. These three women, Simone, Serena, and Tarana, show us what LaKisha is teaching. You can cut ties without carrying hate. You can end relationships, partnerships, and seasons of your life without bitterness, revenge, or emotional self destruction. What it demands is clarity, boundaries, and a decision to prioritize your peace. Now, let me ask you something. Um, and I need you to be honest with yourself. How many people do you still have access to your life who have shown you they are dangerous? How many spaces are you still occupying that are actively harming your body, your mind, or your spirit? How many relationships are you maintaining out of guilt, obligation, or fear of being called bitter? Here's what LaKisha wants you to do differently after hearing this. First, audit your relationships and environments with zero denial. Make a list of the people, spaces, and commitments that are actively harming you, including family, business partners, and social circles. Then identify where you need to cut off access or drastically limit contact. Not later, but now. Not next month, not after the holidays. Now, second, practice non hate detachment as a daily discipline. When you decide to move on, do it cleanly. No long arguments, no begging for changed behavior, no revenge campaigns. Block, unfollow, change your number, shift your routine, whatever it takes to enforce the boundary, while consciously refusing to feed yourself with hate every day. You don't need their understanding. You don't need their approval. You need your peace. Third, replace resentment with strategy. Take the energy you were using to replay the harm and redirect it into therapy, legal action where needed, building your business, protecting your child, and designing a life that is safe and abundant. Your future deserves strategy, not obsession with the past. Your future deserves intention, not endless replays of trauma. The demand is simple. Stop calling it healing if you're still allowing harmful people access to you. Cut off, move on, without hate, but with absolute clarity. I want you to feel confronted right now. I want you to feel uncomfortable about the relationships and environments you are still tolerating. I want you to feel protective and unapologetic with a fierce, non negotiable urge to protect yourself and your family, even if that means cutting off long term relationships, community spaces, or business ties. And I want you to feel empowered, not enraged, strong enough to walk away without hate, to choose softness and safety as strategies, and to believe that your peace is more valuable than being liked, accepted, or understood. LaKisha Plowden is teaching us that softness is not weakness. It is a radical act of self love. It is a refusal to let the people who harmed you own your emotional future. It is a demand for safety and respect for yourself and those you protect. You do not owe proximity to anyone who has shown you they are dangerous to your body, your mind, or your spirit. You can cut off harmful demands, institutions, and narratives without hating them, but you absolutely must stop letting them control you. So here's my challenge to you today. Before you go to bed tonight, I want you to write down three names of people or spaces that are still taking more from you than they're giving, three names of relationships that drain you, harm you, or keep you small. And then I want you to make one decision, just one boundary you will enforce this week, one access point you will close, one conversation you will not have again. You don't need to announce it. You don't need permission. You don't need anyone's blessing. You just need to decide that your peace matters more than their comfort, that your safety matters more than their expectations, that your future matters more than their feelings. This is your soft girl era. This is your sacred pause. This is your quiet but powerful return to softness, rest, self trust, and radical joy. And it starts with one decision to cut off and move on without hate, but with absolute clarity. The world has taught you to carry everyone. Today, I'm asking you to put them down, not with rage, not with bitterness, but with the quiet, unshakable knowing that you deserve better, that your child deserves better, that your peace deserves protection. So go, audit your life, enforce your boundaries, redirect your energy, and step fully into the softest, safest, most abundant version of your life because you can leave without hating, you can heal without staying, and you can protect your peace without apology. That's the permission you've been waiting for. Now take it.